Hello world, hello everyone, and all the diaspora all over the world, and including Africa as well. Welcome to our weekly Africa Reported News with EliNyamal Talkshow. And today we have a couple updates that we want to reach out to you guys about what is going on in the world. And as far as you guys will probably see, things have quite gone very interrupted. And the world is just a chaos. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of riots with the wars going on, and also with the racial and all the other horrible things you could think of that is going on in the world. And not only that, you know, there are some of the news updates that we will report to you at the end of this news report. And first, we want to start out with the Zambia election 2021. And if you guys have not watched the election or seen the election, this election took place on August 21st, and this was in Zambia for their next president candidates to run the country. Some of the report in Lusaka, Zambia, supporters of Zambia opposition candidates Hakimadi Hichilema, which is one of the candidates, have begun celebrating on Saturday amid the early elections. With the election is still going on, they're still counting the vote poll, and they're still working on the results on who is the final winner. And with the celebration erupting over there in Zambia, most of the supporters have, felt like Hichilema is the one that is going to be announced the winner because he is the currently leading party. And this celebration involves lots of music, lots of party, a lot of celebration amid to the election. Now, towards the end, we will report some more where the election has not been finalized yet. They're still tallying the votes, and they are still counting more votes as well. Now, with the lead of 449,000 votes to President Edgar Lungu, he is currently leading towards that other candidate. And the second candidate that we just mentioned, Edgar Lungu, is at 266,000 votes, which he's still behind. The Commission of Zambia said the counting is still pending and will update the results and expected to be announced as the final results on Monday. They should know a lot more by Sunday and have the final results on Monday. So all of the votes tally are from the 31 countries of 152 constitutions in Zambia, in which majority of the voters are the youth of Zambia. And these youth have been fed up with the way the country has been running and things that has been going on in the country. So this has turned out to be one of the largest elections where many youth are very eager to vote and have cast their votes. On the election day on Thursday, there was an overwhelming line at the poll where it even extended a little bit late out before they could close the polls due to the many turnout of the unexpected voters this year in Zambia. There were 16 candidates that were running as president, and some of them have already conceded defeat, and congratulations Hichilema on the victory based on the results that they are receiving at the poll center. However, Lungu's Patriotic Front claimed that the incumbent would have won. So there's a developing problem there with some of the supporters of Lungu's who are not happy with the way the voting poll is coming up. And by ignoring the calls by the Electoral Commission for the people to peacefully for the final official results of the voting, young opposition supporters drove through the streets of capital Lusaka, playing music and singing, as we stated earlier. They grounded at the headquarters of Hichilema's United Party for National Development. The militaries were deployed to circle the streets of Lusaka and other parts of the country on Saturday. The president deployed the military ahead of the election, and they were prepared for it in case there were some outbreaks or some chaos that are to come, and to be ready for it. More troops were deployed, some results part of the country, after there were 2 killings on the election day. Now, many of the opposition supporters are looking forward to Hichilema's presidency and have little patience to wait for the official results. And this leads the people to the tiredness of not having all the resources they need, because amid this pandemic, many costs have went up, including housing. People are living at a minimum of $1 per day in order to make their end meet. And this does not cover their rents and their food. And with all the high costs and everything that's went up during the pandemic. And it really, really encouraged the people and moved them to go vote, and hoping that their leader would win the presidency so that their country can have a balance between the citizens and what is going on with the economy. Now, moving on to South Africa, as we've been reporting a lot of what is happening in South Africa. If you guys remember, the former president who was arrested, who did not want to return himself in, there were chaos, stores were looted, factories were burned and set on fire, and there became a racial war between the Africans in the Indian community, with a huge economic collapse of what is happening in South Africa. So more devastation on the economy is on the rise. Shopping centers are ransacked and completely wiped out, and there is nothing left but deceptivated mannequins laying in broken glass. In the last few weeks, some of the store owners came out and spoke against this, and it was very sad and devastating to hear some of their stories. As one of the ladies said, most of the looters and the crime that is rising right now amid this chaos is they're not taking anything. Most of them they are destroying, and they destroyed everything. And this is some of the words she was crying out to as she was being reported. They destroyed everything, their families, whatever, all the memories they have. So not only are they destroying the things that they need, like the food and the materials and things that they are looting for, but they are also destroying the person's lifelonging effects, things that have made them devoted and dedicated citizens of the country. And what that is leading on, a lot of the donors now really have nothing left to build on. And it's a rising struggle for them to even return back their businesses in however way they can. Because now it has become a war between the civilians and the criminals who just wants to do everything they can to destroy and not take anything. There are still citizens that believe that looting is what's going to help them survive in this economy, that they must loot in order to have the food or the TV or whatever else that they felt like they want, because some of them do believe that the economy was built to benefit a certain race and not so much of everybody else. And the people on the poverty line are not included in that development as well. So they're taking this opportunity as a chance to get the things that they want to take out. And it's a pretty sad outcome for South Africa. And it's going to take a while for the country to even get back to some normalcy or a consolation among the people to come together and figure out how they can solve this problem and how they can come together as one. So currently at the moment in South Africa, in Durban, there is nothing left. It's just all chaos and war in the streets. And if you watch and check out some of the videos, there are cross gunfires among the people who are trying to protect themselves. And also the police themselves have basically gave up, and that even some of them are also looting as well undercover. And it's not all police, but this has escalated to the point where the police cannot solve the problem on their own as well. Now going on to one of the trending story of war in Ethiopia. As you guys remember, November 22nd, the war started in the Tigray region, the conflict that started in Tigray region, where Eritrea, the neighboring country, was disturbed by the Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, to be involved in part of the Ethiopian war. things have escalated to the point where the Tigrays are fleeing the country to the neighbor country of Sudan. And following that led to famine, and now famine is on the rise with the humanitarian crisis being blocked out to enter the country. According to some of the reports, Ethiopia is now at civil war with itself. And these were some of the warnings and the signs that were predicted a couple months back before we hit 2021 of what this could lead to for Ethiopia, or even affecting the neighboring country, including the whole entire country of Ethiopia in all regions. And with the war breaking out, all schools have been canceled in certain regions. All students must return back to their main homeland and or their region and their homes as well until the war is over. It is also becoming a humanitarian crisis in the Tigray region. And with this humanitarian crisis, it is very devastating. It is very deep to the point where even the children, they are going through malnutrition. They are not getting enough food that they need to eat at all. The humanitarian crisis are still not able to get in, even though very few were allowed to get in and surviving off of the little that they are getting from the United Nations as well. Journalists were still not able to get in, but in the last recent months, they are able to make exception in certain journalists that are able to make it through and report what is really going on in the Tigray region. And based on those reports, a lot of them has been revealed, and it is as worse as we thought. Even though the Ethiopian civil war and all the conflicts is very complicated. It's very complicated to the point where we don't know what is really going on in Ethiopia. And in the Tigray region, the innocents are suffering more than you could imagine. And the region of Tigray is a landlocked region in Ethiopia that is currently being blocked out of the world and are left to suffer by the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed. And with the agenda behind the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, it is not 100% clear because his story is not aligning with what is really going on in Ethiopia. For him to block the humanitarian crisis into the Tigray region is only going to alert the rest of the world as a genocide. And if that turns out to be a genocide, it's not a good look on the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. In the last couple weeks, amid to a month, the Prime Minister seems to be going at a desperate mode or a very eager mode to overthrow the power of Tigray. They are recruiting young Ethiopians as young as 18 or whatever young as they may be to join the military, the Ethiopian military, as much as possible, because the Tigray forces have gone a lot stronger. They have reached as far out into concrete Lalibeli in the Amara region, and also part of the Amara region all the way to Afar region, and now potentially reaching down to Addis Ababa. And this caused a panic to the Prime Minister to recruiting as many soldiers as he can get. Now, whether the Ethiopian people will stand for that and allow that to happen and have these younger generation hold guns and fight another war in Ethiopia, we don't know. More developing story on that. But as far as everything that is happening in Ethiopia, it has gone much worse to that extent where Ethiopia is at war with itself over a land, over the battle of trying to overthrow one power. So the Tigray forces versus the Ethiopian forces. Now going on to some of the things that you may not have heard. Trafficking African women to Europe. In the last previous years, there has been a lot of stories you hear about crossing the Mediterranean Sea. And these are the people from Africa who are trying to find a better life for themselves. And they will risk it all to go through the Mediterranean Sea, to go through between life and death, to get to Italy, to get to a better life where they can have a better future or a better development for themselves. Now, the Nigeria mafia is spreading in Europe. One of their main sources of income is human trafficking, and thousands of young Nigerian women fell in the victim of the gangs. These are some of the things that they did not expect as they leave Africa to pursue a better life in Europe. One lady became a testimony who shared her story. Juliet Osaba, she became the trending woman who is telling her story of what is really going on behind closed doors of crossing the Mediterranean Sea. And that is something that we have not thought about, of people crossing the Mediterranean Sea as well. What are some of the darkest that are going on behind the amid of finding a better life? And her story, she went through it and was revealed and has revealed some of the darkest things that the women are going through there, or they have felt it too. And this was covered by one of the reporters from the Dutch Welle media as well. Unlike many Africans who risked their life to cross the Mediterranean Sea, she left her home country, Nigeria, 4 years ago, just to give you guys a little bit of information about who she is, and to pursue a better lifestyle for herself in Europe. Less likely that she knows, she became involved with the criminals who made her endure unspeakable horrors and a lot of things that she has went through as well. And a lot of these women, they are very young, younger women that are being sold in this black market of the Italian mafia for sex slave and mostly with that. And according to the experts, the Nigerian mafia is rapidly growing its criminal organizations. So they are expanding and are thriving off trafficking Nigerian women. It often does the dirty work for the factories of the Italian mafia. Italian mafia are the ones that are out there doing the visible dirty work, while the organizations are the one behind the whole collective agenda, which is the Italian mafia, which is the only too happy to retreat the background of all the finances. So this is a thriving market where now they found a way to use these survival and these people who are trying to find a better life and take advantage of their life to make money for themselves. Now, going on to the last report that I want to share with you all, and this is about a tribe that was discovered a while back in one of the smallest islands that has not been seen by the world. And this tribe, they are called the Jarawa tribe. And many have not heard about them, but there has been one reporter who was accepted to go in to document the lifestyle of these people and really get to know who they are. And it was just recently that they were discovered. I believe it hasn't been more than 10 years, of course, and now their story is starting to come more and more to the surface. The Jarawa tribes are the last remains of mankind living outside of the civilization. They have reserved their own way of life for thousands of years, believing to be 55,000 years. In the Indian Ocean. It's a very small island in the Indian Ocean, south of India and west north of Malaysia in the Asian continent. They are isolated from the Indian civilization as they are part of the Indian tribes and people. Well, whether they are the same tribe as the Indian, we don't know yet, but they are part of their land and their territory. So if they were to live in a civilization and were run by some certain government or prime minister, it would be the government of India. And as I watched the first documentary, it's very interesting because these people have reserved their way of life for so long and for so many years. And it took the media and the technology to discover who these people are. It's a very small island that you rarely don't see. And the population of these tribemen is very, very small. Now, if some of you have an opportunity to check at the documentary on YouTube, they talk about their way of life. And when this documentary reporter was accepted to enter their tribe, they explained about their lifestyle. They have everything they needed. They receive all of their fruits from the trees. The nature gives them everything they need. They have the the coral reef where they can fish and have unlimited seafood, and also the wildlife where the men can go out and hunt the food for their families. And most of what you'll notice and recognize there's a lot of unity and love among these people. And they have described it so perfectly well that, you know, we are happy as we are, and we live in the society for so long, and we are doing so well. We don't need anything from the outside world. We don't need anything from the civilization world. They have everything they need, and they have all the freedom they need. And I wanted to share this with you all because it is a very eye-opening story to the world. And the message that is linked under there is that to keep the tourists out of the Jarawara tribe island. Because these people are being influenced by some of these tourists, whereas they are trying to introduce them alcohol and drugs, things that can lead you to a mental distortion, and the things that create humans to turn against each other and lose their identity of who they are, until the enemy just decided to conquer them and try to force them into the civilization. And they have made it clear that they are happy as they are. They don't need to be a part of the civilization. And meanwhile, the wicked people who are enriching themselves and love the power and the money of the civilization were all trying to force them into the civilization. And that is slowly started by alcohol and drugs and the things that they don't need in order to keep their own lifestyle. The world we all live in is a civilized world where it is run by technology, it is run by money, it is run by certain things that you need to do, that you have to work for to survive, and that we don't even have time for our family and for ourselves. And I believe this documentary, the story about this tribe, will really open the eye to the world to let them know that, you know, the world we live in, we can understand it a lot more, and that the world they live in, it has been preserved. And that is the freedom, the unity, the love, the kind of life that was created for mankind. And it's not to change anybody, because the world is already going further and just rising up even more with technology. But it is to open your eyes and to understand how the world functions itself, so that we can be prepared and not really have anything much to worry about. You know, the world is not a perfect place as we live in right now. But the Jarawara tribe, they have shown to the world how wonderful that they are living and that they are happy where they are. So big up to the government of India, decided to close the road so that no tourism will go there. And now the world know who they are. We just let them be and let them live as they are, and no need to go into their world, because people from the uncivilized world, they come with many distractions. You know, like they mentioned earlier in the document, the drugs and the alcohol, they were trying to introduce them to those things and trying to rape their women and recording them and trying to humiliate them. And that is really unnecessary. So it is a very innocent call for these tribes to be protected and to be kept where they are by any government or any political party, to stay where they are. So that's our update, and that's the news we want to give you guys from Africa Weekly News, and see you next Saturday.